Hey, thanks for joining me. My name's Lori of Deerfield Creations, and this is going to be a short video tutorial about how to get started on your supported spindle. While I speak to you about a few things that you may want to know before getting started, you can take this opportunity to learn to flick your spindle and get some practice without any fiber on it. So here I have my Tibetan spindle, and I'm going to be using this bowl today as my spinning bowl. It's an antique salt cellar. It has a really nice, smooth bottom. You can use any bowl that has a smooth, rounded bottom. We'll talk more about bowl choices in a few minutes. For now, for practice, all I want you to do is put the tip in your spinning bowl and give it a little flick. As you flick it, let the spindle fall back against your hand to continue spinning. If you have a little bit of trouble controlling it when you flick it, make an O between your finger and your thumb and let it stay between the O there. As you get more used to the way that it feels as it spins, you should just be able to let it fall against your hand. When you flick the spindle, always flick as close to the tip as you can. That way your spindle will spin as long as possible and as quickly as possible. Keep flicking your spindle, and I'm going to tell you a few things about spinning bowls and spindle types, as well as fiber. So while you're getting some practice just flicking your spindle with no fiber on it, I'm going to answer a few frequently asked questions. The most frequently asked question I get is what length and weight are best for beginners. Generally what I recommend for beginners is a mid-weight spindle that's between 25 and 35 grams and a mid-length spindle that's between 9.5 and 10.5 inches. That's not to say that you can't get started on something longer, shorter, heavier, or lighter, but that's just typically what I recommend because it's just right down the middle. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is bowls. This is the antique salt cellar that I showed you a few minutes ago. I like these. They're small, they're easy to throw in your purse and always have with you. They have a really nice, rounded, smooth bottom, but they're not always easy to find. Also like this one a lot. This is just a little ice cream bowl I got at a local discount store. Again, it has that wonderful smooth bottom. It has a bit of a stem, so I can put it between my knees here, and I can spin with it in my lap. And this is just an egg cup I got around Easter, I think at Target. And again, super round, smooth bottom. Makes a great little spinning bowl. Here are a few wooden lap bowls that I also like to use. They have the smooth, rounded bottom, and they all have stems so that you can use them between your knees for spinning sitting up. This one has an extra long stem. It's a 3-inch bowl with the extra long stem. And it's a little more versatile with different body types. And here's one with a base, so you can use it sitting down between your knees, or you can rest it on the table. Just look around the house. I bet you can find something that'll work. Anything that has a nice rounded bottom that doesn't have a dimple in it, or it doesn't have a flat squared off bottom will do. So the last thing I want to talk about before we get started spinning is the fiber to use. A lot of people ask, what is the best fiber to get started with? And it's hard to make a recommendation because different people spin different ways and have different preferences, but generally I find that Cormo is a good place to start. I love spinning merino, but the fibers slide by each other a little bit too easily, and sometimes that's overwhelming for a beginner. Cormo is also a fine wool, but it's not quite as slippery as merino is. It was actually created from crossing a merino sheep with a Corriedale sheep. So you get that softness of the merino without it being quite so slippery. So you can start with just about anything that you want, but if you're having issues, give Cormo a try. You should be to the point now where you're getting comfortable just flicking the spindle and let it fall down in your hand. You feel like maybe you still don't have a lot of control over your spindle? Be sure that your body is centered. Everything's towards the middle. Your elbows aren't up, that you're comfortable, your back's comfortable, that you're relaxed. Because the more off-center you are, and the more you put your elbows out, and the more you lean, the less control you're going to have over the spindle. So be sure to keep everything towards the middle. I'm sitting on the ground now. You can also sit in a chair, use a lap bowl, whatever's most comfortable for you. But I don't recommend sitting on a chair and having your bowl up on a table so that your elbows are far away from your body. Keep everything as close in as you can for the most control possible. Alright, so now let's get some fiber on our spindles. I'm just going to take this Cormo fiber and I'm going to pull off just a bit off the end there. This is the part of supported spindling I think that gives beginners the most frustration. They feel like they're defeated before they even get started. And this is the actually putting the fiber onto the spindle. The easiest way that I figured out to show people how to do this is just to wrap the fiber around. Be sure that you're going around clockwise. My right hand is holding the fiber. I'm going to put just the tips of the fiber up against the shaft of the spindle. Now I'm going to take my left hand, which is my spindle holding hand, and I'm going to grab this fiber here. I'm going to draft out a bit, and then I'm going to wrap it around the spindle shaft. See there? The fiber's just wrapped around the spindle. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to draft out a bit. I'm just going to wrap it around the spindle. So I'm just twisting the spindle around with my left hand, and as I twist, it rolls on the fiber. So now we have a bit of fiber wrapped around the shaft of the spindle. I'm going to take my fiber hand and I'm going to lift it up. Now I'm going to twist the spindle again, taking my time. I don't want any twist in my fiber supply yet. So I'm keeping the fiber pinched right here between the fiber supply and where the twist is being added in. I'm just collecting twist right there between the tip of the spindle and my right hand, which is holding the fiber. No twist is getting in the fiber supply. I'm going to take my left hand now, which is the hand that holds the spindle. I'm going to reach out my finger and thumb, and now I'm going to pinch right there where my right hand was, and I'm going to let go. Now, all the twist is between the tip of the spindle and my finger and thumb. I've got it all collected right there. I'm going to draft out just a little bit, and now I'm going to let go with my left hand so that the twist travels up into the fiber and locks it in. I'm going to raise my hand up, add a little bit of twist, collecting twist right there between the tip of the spindle and my right hand, which is the hand holding the fiber supply. I have all the twist gathered up right there. I'm going to take my left hand, reach out, and I'm going to pinch so that none of the twist is getting into the fiber yet. I'm going to draft out a bit, and I'm going to pinch so that now I have two sections. One has the twist, one has the fiber. Now I'm going to let go with this left hand so that the twist travels up into the just newly drafted fiber. Now I have my leader. I'm going to drop my hand down, and I'm going to wind it on. So this is what we've done so far. Hopefully you've kind of gotten the hang of that bit. If not, go ahead, rewind the video, do it again, pause the video, come back later, try it again later. There's no rush on this. Just be patient with yourself and don't expect to get it the first time. So now you've started your temporary cop and you've built your leader. What we're going to do is start spinning now. You're going to have your right hand, your fiber holding hand, in one of two positions at all times at this point. It's either going to be straight up, which is for when you're adding twist, or it's going to be down at 90 degrees, and that's for winding the fiber on, or winding the yarn on. So I'm going to raise up my hand, I'm going to give the spindle a flick, let it fall back into my left hand, and I'm going to add twist. I'm keeping all the twist captured between the tip of the spindle and my right hand that's holding the fiber. I'm going to reach my spindle holding hand out, and I'm going to pinch right there between the twisty bits and the fiber supply to keep the twist contained right there. We don't want the twist in our fiber supply at this point. Now I'm going to draft out just a bit with my right hand, and I'm going to pinch again so that I have two segments. This bit has twist. This is the fiber with no twist that I'm about to turn into yarn, and this is the fiber supply over here. Keep the twist out of the fiber supply. Now we're ready to let the twist into this bit here, so I'm going to let go with my left hand and let the twist travel up into that bit. I'm going to raise my hand back straight up. I'm going to flake the spindle, and I'm going to let the twist gather between the tip of the spindle and my fiber holding hand, and I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to pinch it there, twist, no twist. I'm going to draft out just a bit. I'm going to pinch again. I have my two separate areas here, one with twist, one with no twist. I'm going to release with my left hand and let the twist travel up into the fiber. I'm going to raise it back up. I'm going to add a little bit of twist. Now I'm going to drop it down to my second position, and I'm going to wind the yarn on, all but about 4 inches or so. I'm going to raise my right hand back up, and I'm going to add twist. All my twist is captured right here between the tip of the spindle and the fiber. I'm going to pinch to contain that twist. I'm going to draft it out again. I'm going to pinch to keep it out of the fiber supply. Now I'm going to let the twist travel up into that bit I just drafted out. Give it a little tug on itself. When you're drop spindling, if your yarn isn't stable, then the spindle will drop to the floor. When you're supported spindling, there's nothing to prove that your yarn's going to be stable. So tug against it. Let it fly back on itself. Be sure that it's like you want it before you wind it on. I like to add a little bit more twist. Now I'm going to drop down this right hand, and I'm going to wind it on. So now we're going to add a little bit more fiber. You may not be to the point where you're ready to do that yet, but I wanted to go ahead and show you. There's nothing to it. Just take your little end there, put it on top of your fiber there, draft out a little bit so that they draft together. I'm holding them together. I'm going to give it a little twist. I'm going to keep all of my twist between the tip of the spindle and my right hand, which is holding my fiber supply. Reach my left hand over, and I'm going to draft out the new bit of fiber with the old bit, and just let the twist go into them. So just keep doing this in this method. It's kind of a park and draft, and that's just fine. Just keep going with it. You're going to draft out, pinch, let the twist into the new bit that you just drafted, give it an extra little flick, drop that fiber hand down, and wind on. All but the last 4 inches or so. Then we're going to raise it back up, add some twist, pinch, draft out, let the twist into that bit you just drafted, let your hand go down, and wind it on. Keep doing that for a few minutes. Pause the video, just do that for a little bit till you get comfortable with it, and then come back and see me. So the method I'm showing you today is one in which we use a temporary cop. And I'll explain you the reason that I do this here in just a few minutes. But let's just do this just for a bit. You don't have to keep doing this if this isn't the method for you. It's just what I'm going to show you today. Alright, so after you spun for a little while, you're going to wind off. And what I'm doing here is just wrapping the yarn there around my finger. And now I'm going to butterfly it off. So I'm going to put it around my pinky and then my thumb. And my pinky and my thumb. Pinky, thumb. All I'm doing here is removing the yarn from the spindle, from the temporary cop, so that we can wind it on again on the bottom as a permanent cop. Alright, so now we've removed the yarn from the spindle. There's the bit that we just wound on in the beginning. So we're just going to take that, and we're going to wind it onto the bottom now. And we're going to make our permanent cop. Something to keep in mind with spindles is that as you wind your cop on, the cop becomes part of the spindle. It changes the physics of the spindle. So when you wind on your cop, you want to be sure that you do it really tight, really tidy, really close to the bottom, and you want to mirror the shape of the spindle. So we're winding on our permanent cop now. When you get to the last couple feet, go ahead and let it run up the spindle there, and then make yourself another temporary cop right up here at the top. We spin for 10 or 15 minutes on the temporary cop before I wind off and put it down on the permanent cop. A good handful of fluff, a good staple length of fiber is what I'll usually do. And then I'll wind it off and wind it onto the permanent cop. The reason that I use the temporary cop first is, as you go, you may develop a more continuous method of spinning so that you're not really parking and drafting so much anymore. This is just the way that I do it. I'll add my twist, and as my spindle's still spinning, I'll let the twist travel up as I'm drafting. So that when I got a pretty good length there, I'll drop my fiber hand down, I'll flick the spindle, and it'll just wind right on. I'll raise my hand up, add twist, draft it out, give it an extra flick there, lower that hand down, flick it, and wind it on. So that I'm winding on loosely to this temporary cop. Then I can wind it off, butterfly it off, and wind it back on to the permanent cop down here. And I can take a little more care while building that permanent cop. Because like I said before, it does become part of the tool. Your single becomes part of your spindle. So you want to build it in such a way that it doesn't mess with the physics of the tool. If you built your cop up here, it would make it so top heavy that it would change things. It wouldn't spin like you want it to spin. Keep everything low, keep it tight, and keep it tidy. Here's a Tibetan spindle that I have a current spinning project on. The way that I like to build the cop is kind of mirroring the shape of the whirl so that it's heavy down low and then it tapers up and up the shaft. I feel like I can get a little bit more on when I build the cop this way, plus it doesn't change the physics of my spindle so much. I think that about wraps up everything I wanted to share with you today. This tutorial is just meant to be kind of a beginner tutorial to get you started on the supported spindle. There's a lot of other good resources out there and some great YouTube videos, so check those out for more information. Hopefully I'll be posting more videos in the future, but until then, just look and see what else is out there. I just wanted to share with you the way that I do it, and remember, there's no right or wrong way to do it, just as long as you're happy with the process and the result. Happy spinning! I do like things that I can put between my knees. It has a bunny on it.